It's time to bust another myth about Israel and the conflict she faces. And this is the myth of the Arab expulsion from Palestine, Israel's supposed original sin. It's a complete fabrication, and I want to go through what Melanie Phillips wrote in her brilliant book, The World Turned Upside Down. Melanie is, of course, a renowned journalist and author. These are her words. The myth that Jews drove out the Arabs when Israel was created in 1948, with many of the Israelis living in properties stolen from the Palestinians, is going to be unpacked now. In The Guardian, Seamus Milne wrote of the Nakba, or catastrophe, that led to the destruction of their society and expulsion from their homeland. In The Independent, Robert Fisk wrote similarly about the Palestinians originally expelled from 1948 Palestine in Israel's initial act of ethnic cleansing. Once again, however, the Arabs themselves have repeatedly made clear this is just not true. Far from appropriating Arab property, the Jews bought most of the land from the Arabs, mainly absentee lords, as many Arab sources have testified, such as King Abdullah of Transjordan, who wrote that the Arabs were as prodigal in selling their land as they are in useless wailing and weeping. As for the displacement in 1948, the evidence is that most of the Arabs of Palestine fled during the war to exterminate the state of Israel at birth, because they were told to do so by the Arab world, which was confident of victory. The Economist, never a friend of Israel, reported that the most potent factors for the Arabs' flight were the, quote, announcements made over the air by the higher Arab executive urging the Arabs to quit. It was clearly intimated that those Arabs who remained in Haifa and accepted Jewish protection would be regarded as renegades. Syria's Prime Minister after 1948, Khaled al-Azb, acknowledged that the Arab responsibility for creating the refugee problem, writing in his memoirs, quote, since 1948 it is we who demanded the return of the refugees, while it was we who made them leave. We brought disaster upon the refugees by inviting them and bringing pressure to bear upon them to leave. We have rendered them dispossessed. In 2006, a columnist in the Palestinian Authority's official paper, Al-Hayat Al-Jadida, acknowledged the same thing. Mahmoud al-Habash wrote that in 1948, Palestinian Arabs left their homes willingly under the instruction of their own Arab leaders with false promises of a prompt return. Having tried to exterminate Israel at its rebirth in 1948, and told that the Palestinian Arabs to flee the fighting on the basis that Israel would soon be wiped out, these Arab states then kept the Palestinian Arabs permanently in squalid conditions in the West Bank and Gaza in order to win a propaganda war against the Jews within the gullible and ambivalent West. I know how gullible they are. The West has swallowed this propaganda, apparently oblivious to the striking Arab tactic of using an event that has actually happened, but switching the roles of the principal actors so that the Arabs always end up portrayed as victims of the Jews. Another fact of history that's come to my attention recently is that actually much of the Arab population in what was then known as Palestine arose during the Jewish people's return in the 1800s as it started to become a more attractive place. Remember, most of the land was desolate for thousands of years since the Jews were exiled from their prior sovereign Jewish state. So this idea of some kind of indigenous, original Palestinian people there is just total fabrication. No, they come from either people who came later in, when Jews started to return en masse, and even before that, yes, there were Arabs there, but they come from the 7th century Islamic conquest invaders. And so it's so funny because they accuse the Jews of being the colonizers, and yet it's actually the other way around. It's amazing. And yet the world still buys it. Over 50 Arab or Muslim states in the world. The Jews can't have one. I do wonder. I was talking to someone yesterday. He said, I don't get it. People in the West who have their nativity plays every year in December. Where do they think this happened? Jesus the Jew? Where was this happening? Where is Bethlehem? Where is Nazareth? I mean, it's just, it's astonishing that they can then seem to think that, Jesus was a Palestinian and the Jewish people have no place there. It's mad. But we have to stop playing to these lies. I was doing a great interview that you should watch with Rabbi Manis Friedman. We were talking about the end of days, and it says in the Zohar that no exile will be as oppressive as the Ishmaelite exile. I recommend you watch that video if you haven't seen it. I did it a few weeks ago, going through all the Torah prophetic sources that spoke about the times we're living in. It's called the Ishmaelite exile. You can find it on YouTube. But one of the things that it says is that no exile will be as oppressive to the Jewish people as the exile of Ishmael. And by the way, when I say exile, it doesn't necessarily mean exiled from our land. It just means a moment of persecution and oppression, which we're living through today from descendants of Ishmael. And I said to him, what does that mean? And no exile will be as oppressive. Really? More oppressive than the Holocaust? That sounds not good. And he said, well, it's what he said it means is in terms of the psychological torments that we go through. We've been made to feel guilty. We've been made to question ourselves, to really think we have no right to be there, no right to fight. We feel guilty for doing what we need to do to secure our security. It's quite the PR game, quite the PR win that the other side, the Arabs, have pulled off. But it's time that we finally wake up from this, and I think we are waking up from it. No more with the lies, the fake shame, the disingenuous shame. I mean, the chutzpah of having an Al Jazeera photographer in Gaza decrying Israel's bombardment of Gaza while holding hostages in his home. So let's stop falling for all the shame and lies, and also appreciate that some of the mass hysteria just comes down to ignorance by a complicit media. We shouldn't be intimidated by it anymore. We must reinforce our own self-confidence in who we are. That is what Hamas tried to shake on October 7th. They tried to shake our confidence in ourselves. Let's not allow them to win. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.